faithfully conveying value, interpreting global masterpieces. Hi, this is Sally's Book Club. Today we'll explore the book The Return of Martin Guerre. This work was authored by renowned American historian Madeleine Zeman Davis. The narrative centers around an extraordinary 16th century French case of identity theft involving a man named Martin Guerre. However, as serious academic work, Davis's purpose extends far beyond mere entertainment. Published in 1982, this groundbreaking work became a seminal text in microhistory, then an emerging historical methodology. It advocates historians returning to traditional storytelling methods, emphasizing fresh perspectives and rich details that inspire historical reflection. Through Martin Guerre's story, Davis vividly illustrates how 16th century society differed fundamentally from our modern world. Moreover, Davis explores two fascinating questions through this case study. Why have stories of impersonation captivated readers across centuries? What psychological needs do such narratives fulfill? And can historical research ever truly reconstruct complete historical truth? First, I'll recount Martin Guerre's remarkable story, then analyze how Davis uses this case to examine these profound questions. Our story begins in 16th century rural France, where wealthy farmer Martin Guerre abandoned his family and estate, disappearing for years. Then one day, he miraculously returned. The shocking truth? This man was an imposter, yet even Guerre's wife accepted him as her husband. After 3 years, the imposter faced legal charges brought by Guerre's uncle and wife. Just as he nearly convinced the court of his identity, the real Martin Guerre dramatically appeared at the courthouse, exposing the deception. You might wonder, could such theatrical events truly occur? How could anyone deceive their closest kin? Even if your husband's been gone for years, how could a wife not recognize him? Why would the wife suddenly turn against her partner after living harmoniously? Actually, these questions become understandable when considering historical context. Let's start from the beginning. The Guerre family were originally farmers near the French-Spanish border who fled wartime chaos. Young Martin moved with his family to Artigat village in inland France. As outsiders in Artigat, a 3-day walk from the border with 60 to 70 households, they enjoyed unusual economic freedom without church taxes or feudal service. The village's relatively open society helped integrate newcomers. After establishing a brickyard, the Guerres secured their status through strategic marriage. Young Martin married Bertrande from a prominent family. Our female protagonist, both newlyweds, were about 14, with families expecting immediate offspring. But 8 childless years passed due to Martin's impotence. This condition brought family shame, even by modern standards. In medieval Europe, such stigma carried devastating social consequences. Despite family integration, Martin remained culturally alien. Different accent, unusual name, associated with farm animals, and restless spirit. His eventual departure became inevitable. What about Bertrande's perspective? Medieval law allowed divorce for impotence, an option Bertrande's family encouraged, yet she resolutely refused, revealing her stubborn nature and concern for maintaining feminine virtue. In her view, separating from one's husband brought disgrace to a married woman. After Martin cured his impotence and they had a son, normalcy seemed restored, until 1548 when Martin vanished without explanation. Martin's parents died, never knowing their son's fate, their will naming him heir. Uncle Pierre became estate executor, controlling substantial family assets. Bertrande now existed in legal limbo, neither married nor widowed. Civil law required conclusive proof of death for remarriage, even after 20 years' absence. The abandoned wife could only maintain virtue and raise their child. Property controlled by Pierre left Bertrande economically vulnerable. She desperately needed a husband's protection, but not the original Martin. Her ideal scenario, a different Martin returning, transformed. But how could this fantasy materialize? Miraculously, 8 years later, her wish manifested. A man claiming to be Martin Guerre appeared. Actually, Arnaud Dutil called Pansette Big Belly. From a village days right away, this imposter possessed sharp wit and photographic memory. What motivated this audacious deception? While Martin grew up with sisters, Pansette was raised among brothers. Despite humble origins, his charisma and storytelling talent enabled the scheme. Moreover, this adventurer embraced risks. When life-changing opportunities arose, he'd gamble boldly, and fate presented such an opportunity. When mistaken for Martin by his friends, Pansette seized this chance, skillfully extracting details through casual conversation. For months, he gathered intelligence through village gossip and careful observation. He even learned where Martin stored white hose before disappearing, but was this merely for financial gain? Identity theft for economic benefit was common in that era. Yet, Pansette sought more than wealth. He craved complete rebirth through assumed identity. This wasn't mere theft, but complete identity metamorphosis. Pansette approached the Guerre household via neighboring inn, sending word of Martin's return. Martin's sisters rushed to the inn, bombarding him with joyful questions. Uncle Pierre's initial suspicion faded when Pansette recalled shared experiences. Bertrande initially recoiled, sensing incongruities. Pansette's tender words and intimate knowledge gradually disarmed her. The clincher, accurately describing the stored hose's location. Bertrande embraced him, sealing the deception with a kiss. Were their physical resemblances truly uncanny? Martin was taller and leaner. Similarities weren't absolute, but pre-modern Europe lacked photographic evidence for comparison. Portraits were rare among peasants, handwriting comparison impossible for illiterates. Now, in an era when few could write, how would villagers verify identities? Well, memory became the sole judge of identity, an unreliable standard at best. When a weather-beaten man matching general memories arrives, bearing precise personal details, who could decisively challenge his identity under these circumstances? Thus, Pansette became the new Martin Guerre. Cautiously, the imposter remained at the inn-post reunion, nursed by Bertrande. These caregiving days allowed Bertrande to subtly reinforce his backstory. When finally entering the village, Martin performed flawlessly, greeting villagers by name, recalling shared memories. His social brilliance disarmed doubts. Any whispered suspicions lacked concrete evidence. With the wife's acceptance, villagers had no grounds for objection. Was our heroine truly deceived, or did she willingly participate in this charade? Historical records leave this question tantalizingly unanswered. Davis reconstructs possibilities through contextual analysis. Even initial doubts would fade through intimate familiarity, yet physical differences should betray the imposter. Why then maintain the pretense that recall Bertrande's needs? Legal protection without emotional baggage. The imposter fulfilled her unspoken desires perfectly. This improved Martin, shared conversations and companionship, rare marital luxuries. Their affectionate interactions defied period norms. For 3 precarious years, this ideal arrangement held, even producing a daughter. But this precarious balance eventually shattered. Uncle Pierre's conflict with the imposter reached boiling point. The root cause, financial control. Pansette fully embraced his role, aggressively expanding family assets. When demanding account books transfer, Pierre's resentment crystallized into suspicion. Why had Martin forgotten childhood dialects, abandoned fencing? Why the changed physique? Why dissimilar features in his son? The uncle began publicly denouncing the imposter. Fate intervened when Martin's wartime comrade passed through. He exposed the fraud. True Martin had a wooden leg from battle. The deception teetered on collapse. How the couple coordinated their defense remains historical conjecture. Likely they meticulously rehearsed Martin's biography for consistency. Pierre's breakthrough came through local gossip networks. Connecting Pansette's reputation to the imposter, he initiated legal action.